What if I told you that one of the keys to the next generation of supercomputers isn't being built in a high-tech lab, but is actually growing in nature right now? It sounds completely out there, I know, but one of the planet's simplest organisms is showing us that intelligence doesn't need a brain, and you don't need silicon to compute. So let's get into how this is even possible. Okay, take a look at this. On the left, you've got the Tokyo rail system. It's a total marvel of human engineering, optimized over decades by some of the smartest people on the planet. And on the right, well, that's what a single-celled slime mold built in just over 24 hours. Scientists literally just placed its favorite food, oat flakes, in the same pattern as Tokyo's biggest stations and just let it go. The result is a network that is shockingly similar, just as efficient, just as resilient, and just as cost-effective. And that right there is the big question, isn't it? The paradox that just blows your mind. How can a single cell with 0 neurons, no brain, no central command center whatsoever, design a network that actually rivals one of our greatest engineering achievements? To figure that out, we need to meet our star player. It's not an animal, it's not a plant, it's not a fungus, it's a true slime mold called Physarum polycephalum. Now, the first thing you have to wrap your head around is that what you're looking at, it isn't a colony of millions of little things working together. No, this is one giant single cell. It's an amoeboid that can grow to cover several square meters, all acting as one big coordinated entity. Biologically, the technical term for this is a syncytium. All that means is it's a single cell wall, but inside there are millions of individual nuclei just floating around in the same shared cytoplasm. And here's the absolute kicker. It accomplishes all of its complex, intelligent-seeming behaviors with no brain, no central nervous system, nothing. So if there's no brain, how in the world does it think? Well, the secret isn't in a mind. It's actually in its physical body and a very specific process happening inside it. Its problem-solving skill isn't programmed. It's what we call an emergent property. It just arises from a very simple, very decentralized physical process, the constant, pulsing flow of its own guts. This process has a name. It's called protoplasmic streaming. Just picture a huge network of tiny tubes where the goo inside is constantly being pushed back and forth, like a tide, all driven by these pulsing contractions. This physical flow isn't just its circulatory system, it's also its entire information processing system rolled into one. But how does this simple, physical sloshing back and forth become such a powerful algorithm for solving incredibly difficult problems? Well, the logic is just so simple, it's brilliant. First, it just explores everywhere. It sends out this huge web of tendrils in all directions. Now, when one of those tendrils hits the jackpot, finds food, the whole organism reacts by pumping more of its internal goo down that path. This creates the positive feedback loop. The tubes with more flow get stronger and thicker, basically turning into superhighways for nutrients. And at the exact same time, any of those little feelers that led to a dead end, they get less and less flow, so they get pruned back and just disappear. It's been perfectly described as a self-organizing traffic system. Without any boss or city planner, it automatically strengthens the best roads and closes down the ones that lead nowhere. It's a super simple local rule that creates a globally perfect network. And the range of problems this little organism can solve is frankly astounding. This isn't just a one-trick pony. It is a true, living, biological computer. We're talking about problems that are known to be computationally hard, the kind of stuff that gives even our fastest supercomputers a real headache. It can find the shortest path through a maze, no problem. It can find really good approximate solutions to the famously complex traveling salesman problem. It builds optimal networks, and it even builds in fault tolerance naturally, creating systems that can handle being damaged. I mean, just look at this classic maze experiment. At first, the slime mold grows to fill every single possible pathway. But then, over time, it follows its simple rules. Reinforce what works, prune what doesn't. It pulls back from every single dead end until all that's left is the one single, most efficient route connecting the food. It's literally a living, breathing, pathfinding algorithm. So, this is way more than just a cool biological curiosity. Researchers are looking at this and realizing we might be able to harness this natural computer to build the technology of the future. To understand how, we first need to quickly talk about a piece of tech called a memristor. For a long time, we thought there were only 3 fundamental electronic components. This is the 4th. Put simply, it's a resistor that has a memory. Its resistance actually changes based on the history of the electricity that's flowed through it, which opens the door to totally new kinds of computers. And this is where it gets absolutely incredible. The slime mold's behavior, the way it thickens its tubes in response to more flow, is a perfect physical analog to how a memristor works with electricity. It's a one-to-one match. In fact, scientists have already successfully plugged a slime mold into an electronic circuit, proving that it can act as a living, biological memristor. The possibilities here are genuinely paradigm-shifting. We're talking about circuits that can literally grow themselves and heal themselves if they get damaged. Computing elements that are incredibly dense and use almost zero power. Completely new kinds of biological sensors. You could even build networks that are basically unhackable because their logic is based on physical adaptation, not predictable digital code. So the next time you think about the future of tech, you might want to look past the sterile clean rooms and silicon fabs. And it leaves us with this one final, really provocative thought. What if the next great leap in computing isn't something we build at all, but something we grow?
Don't go anywhere, hit subscribe and we continue.
You know, for all our concrete, all our steel, and our fancy composite materials, our human engineering has this one fundamental weakness. It tends to fail spectacularly under extreme stress. But here's what most people don't realize. In nature, there are structures that have spent millions of years perfecting the art of survival, and one of them holds a secret that could completely change the way we build everything. I mean, come on, that sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? A material that doesn't just resist a fire, but actually uses that insane energy to make its own defenses even stronger? Well, this isn't fantasy. It is the absolute reality for one of the largest living things on our planet. So that's the big question, isn't it? How did a tree, through just millennia of evolution, develop a fire-resistant blueprint that honestly puts our most advanced space-age materials to shame? Well, the answer, it's hidden inside its armor. All right, to find that answer, we have to travel to the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. It's the only place in the entire world where our case study grows, the absolutely incredible giant sequoia. This right here is the master of survival. The giant sequoia has a very special relationship with fire. While other trees would just be turned to ash, the sequoia has evolved not just to endure fire, but to actually thrive in it. And its number one defense is this incredibly thick, reddish, fibrous bark. And when I say thick, I seriously mean it. The bark of a fully grown giant sequoia can be up to 2 feet thick. That's not a typo. It is a massive shield of biological armor. And its whole job is to insulate the living tissue inside, the part that keeps the tree growing, from unbelievably high temperatures. And get this armor is not a one-trick pony. It is a complete, multi-threat defense system. It's got a high tannin content, and we'll circle back to that detail, I promise, that makes it resistant to bugs and rot. And its unique structure is even tough enough to absorb the energy from rockfalls, which are, a pretty common threat where it lives. So how does it actually work? This isn't just some simple, thick wall. Oh no, it's a super sophisticated 2-part system that combines brilliant structural design with some pretty advanced chemistry. So let's peel back the layers. This amazing defense blueprint really breaks down into 2 key strategies. First, you've got the physical defense. That's all about how the bark is physically built, its architecture. And second, there's the chemical defense, which is all about the specific molecules inside the bark and how they react when things get hot. Let's start with the physical side. Researchers have described the sequoia's bark as being like an open-pored foam. And that's a perfect analogy. Think about the advanced foams we use for insulation in our homes or in protective gear. The bark is just filled with these tiny little air pockets, all trapped inside this fibrous matrix. And that structure is an absolutely terrible conductor of heat, which is exactly what you want when a wildfire rolls through. Now, when you look even closer, with something like a micro-CT scan, you can see the bark's inner world. It is incredible. It's not a solid block at all. It's this complex 3-dimensional web of interwoven fiber bundles. So if it gets hit by a rock, this whole network just compresses and absorbs the impact. And when it's faced with fire, all those little air pockets act as an amazing insulator, slowing down the heat transfer to a crawl. But that physical structure, that's only half the story. The bark's real genius, its secret weapon, lies in its chemistry. This is where the magic really happens. And it's all thanks to a group of chemical compounds called polyphenols, specifically tannins. Okay, so this is the crucial part, what's called a pyrogenic reaction. The bark is just loaded with these tannins. Now, when it gets exposed to the crazy heat of a forest fire, these tannins don't just burn up and disappear. Nope, they go through a chemical transformation, and they convert into this stable, black, graphitic char. And that char layer then forms an even more effective fire retardant shield, protecting everything underneath. The bark literally sacrifices its outer layer to save the entire tree. It's brilliant. And the efficiency here, it's just staggering. This data comes from a study that compared fire-resistant barks to a standard technical polymer, like something you'd find in a lab. So the polymer burns away, leaving almost nothing, just 2.6% of its mass. But the sequoia bark? It just carbonizes, keeping up to 60% of its solid mass as that protective char. It's not even a contest. It is an incredibly effective and efficient defense system. And this is where it all comes together. We've seen nature's amazing blueprint. So what are we doing with this knowledge? Well, scientists and engineers are now looking directly at the sequoia to design the next generation of resilient building materials. This is a field called biomimicry, learning from nature's genius. And the connection to our own technology becomes so clear when you see it like this. On the left, you've got nature's intricate fibrous design. On the right, you see how that chemical transformation inspires our own innovations. The way those tannins turn into stable protective structures. We are literally borrowing a multi-million-year-old idea to create brand new materials. And hey, this isn't just some theory for the future, it's happening right now. You have things called intumescent coatings. They're basically paints that swell up and char when they get hot. That's the exact same chemical principle as the sequoia's tannins. Then there's bio-inspired fibrous concrete, trying to copy the bark's lightweight, insulating, and shock-absorbing abilities. There's even a product concept called BioBark, which is an exterior wall system designed to mimic the bark's structure to protect our buildings. So what does all this mean for the way we build our world, especially now as challenges like wildfires are becoming more and more common? This quote just captures the shift in thinking perfectly. Instead of trying to fight the environment or control it, we're finally starting to learn from the wisdom of ecosystems that have already figured these problems out. The goal isn't just resistance anymore, it's resilience. And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. The blueprint for a truly resilient future isn't some vague idea of learning from nature. No, it's a set of specific ancient principles, a shock-absorbing foam-like structure, a multi-layered defense system, and that brilliant chemical trick of sacrificing an outer layer to create a stronger shield. The future of design, it turns out, isn't about inventing something totally new. It's about finally learning how to listen to something ancient.
Don't go anywhere, hit subscribe and we continue.
You know, we all learned about the water cycle in school, right? Water evaporates from the ocean, it forms clouds, and then it falls back down as rain. A simple, clean, physical process. But here's what most people don't realize. That's only half the story. What if I told you the sky above us is, in a very real sense, alive? See, that classic textbook model we all memorized? It's missing the single most important ingredient. It turns out rain isn't just about physics, it's about biology. There is a living, breathing component up there in the clouds that's acting as a powerful engine for our weather. And this isn't some small, nerdy detail. This changes everything about how we should see the sky. So what is this secret ingredient? What's the hidden hand that actually makes our weather happen? If it's not just temperature and dust that trigger a downpour, what else is going on thousands of feet above our heads? Well, the answer starts with a really strange, kind of counterintuitive fact about water itself. Okay, so we're all taught that water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit. Simple. But that's not the whole truth. Perfectly pure water, well, it's actually really reluctant to freeze. It needs a little something to get it started, a tiny particle, a nucleus, to kickstart the formation of that very first ice crystal. Without that trigger, it can get into this bizarre state called supercooling, staying liquid at temperatures way below freezing. And just how cold are we talking? Get this, pure water can stay liquid all the way down to a mind-boggling minus 40 degrees Celsius. And yet, almost all of the world's rain and snow actually forms in clouds that are much, much warmer than that. So something else has to be up there, giving the water that critical nudge to freeze. For decades, scientists just figured, it's probably dust or soot. Turns out, they were wrong. The true masters of the clouds are alive. So let's meet our microscopic protagonist, a bacterium called Pseudomonas syringae. Now, if you're a farmer, you probably know this little guy as a total pest. It lives on the surface of plant leaves, and it's famous for causing frost damage, wrecking crops even when the temperature just barely dips below freezing. That's what it's known for. But its secret identity is what's truly incredible. You see, this bacterium has a secret weapon. It produces a very special protein on its outer shell, and this protein is an absolute master of ice formation. It literally forces water molecules to snap into a frozen crystal structure at ridiculously high temperatures. We're talking just a degree or two below zero. On a plant, this is a great strategy for the bacteria because it damages the leaf and lets them get at the nutrients inside. But the real story begins when the wind kicks up and sweeps these tiny microbes from the leaves high into the sky. Now, this idea isn't brand new, but man, was it radical. Back in the 1970s, a scientist at Montana State University named David Sands first proposed this concept of bioprecipitation, the theory that bacteria were literally making it rain. And for decades, pretty much nobody believed him. The idea was mostly dismissed, seen as a bit out there. It took all the way until 2008 for a huge, groundbreaking study to finally provide the stunning evidence that, yep, Sands had been right all along. This quote from Brent Christner, who led that 2008 study, just perfectly captures how revolutionary this was. Imagine proposing an idea that rewrites the textbooks, and for over 25 years, the scientific community kind of pats you on the head and ignores you. It's an amazing story of how a fringe idea can finally overturn everything we thought we knew. So what is the secret to this bacterial magic trick? Well, it all comes down to these things called ice nucleation proteins, or INPs. Think of the surface of this protein like a perfect molecular blueprint for an ice crystal. It has this incredibly ordered, repeating structure. So when a supercooled water molecule bumps into it, it's essentially tricked into locking into that perfect crystal shape. And that starts a chain reaction, forming a tiny particle of ice where there was none before. And here it is. This is the smoking gun. That 2008 study analyzed snow from all over the planet, and what they found was that in those warmer cloud temperatures, where most of our precipitation forms, somewhere between 69 and a full 100% of the ice nuclei were biological, not dust, not soot, living things. They are, without a doubt, the most effective ice seeders in our atmosphere. And to be clear, this isn't just a local thing, it's happening everywhere. Scientists have found these exact bacteria at the very core of snowflakes and hailstones from all over the world. We're talking Montana, France, the Yukon, Louisiana, even Antarctica. This proves that these tiny microbes are part of a massive, planet-wide atmospheric system. So when you put all the pieces together, you get this absolutely elegant and incredible feedback loop. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. Step 1, bacteria sitting on plants get swept up into the sky. Step 2, high up in the clouds, they use their special proteins to start forming ice crystals. Step 3, those crystals get bigger and heavier and fall as rain or snow. And step 4, the bacteria just hitch a ride right back down to Earth, ready to land on new plants and start the whole journey all over again. And this is where things get really interesting. This isn't just an accident. From the bacterium's point of view, this is a brilliant evolutionary strategy for spreading around. I mean, why would you just passively float on the wind and hope you land somewhere good when you can actively control your return trip? By creating rain, the bacteria are essentially building their own parachutes to get back down to a cozy home on a leaf. The implication of this is just profound. It means that our forests, our farms, our grasslands, they aren't just passive victims of the weather. No, they are active participants. They are sending their microbial partners up into the sky to help bring the water back down. Life isn't just being shaped by the climate, life is actively shaping the climate to meet its own needs. I absolutely love this quote. I think it captures the scale of what we're talking about perfectly. These invisible organisms, in their trillions upon trillions, are like the conductors of Earth's orchestra. They're the hidden force linking the land and the sky. They are literally making the music of the biosphere. So we have to leave it with this incredible thought. The clouds are a living ecosystem, and that forces us to ask a much, much bigger question. If the weather itself is being conducted by this invisible orchestra of microbes, what other parts of our world, what other things we take for granted, are secretly and beautifully alive?
Thanks for watching. Support BioVellum by liking, subscribing, and sharing. Let's explore the secrets of nature together.